everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and it's time to crack into a good book. So I guess first things first, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but they are currently mowing outside, so that's a delightful background noise that we can all enjoy. But today this video is going to be about the July releases that I think look really awesome. So I have 20 books to talk to you about today, so let's go ahead and get started, and like always we'll work our way from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. Obviously some of these books have already come out since it is past the 7th, but we'll go ahead and talk about them. The first book I'll talk about here is The Bright Lands by John Fram. So it's not clear to me exactly what this is. I think it's possibly horror or just like a thriller of some sort. It's like the town of Bentley holds two things dear, its football and its secrets. So the star quarterback goes missing, and basically everybody in this town in Texas is kind of afraid, I guess. So then the brother of this guy who goes missing was shamed out of conservative Bentley 10 years ago, and he's made a life for himself as a gay man in New York, but his brother's disappearance brings him back into this town. The sheriff's deputy who has stayed in Bentley, her brother's return, brings back painful memories, not to mention questions about her own missing brother. In the high school hallways, this missing guy's friends begin to suspect that their classmates know far more than they're telling the police, and so we've got some unlikely allies banding together and they stir up secrets of the town, I guess, and it says it draws attention of dangerous men who will stop at nothing to see that their crimes stay buried. And it's like no one is quite prepared to face the darkness that's begun to haunt their nightmares, whispering about a place long thought to be nothing but an urban legend, an empty night, a flicker of lights on the horizon, the Bright Lands. So, yeah, I don't know. That sounds really cool, and, like, I mean, I'm not, like, super into football, but I feel like, for some reason, this particular plot line is drawing me in, so I'm hoping that it'll be good. The next book that has already come out on July 7th is Unravel the Death by Elizabeth Lim. So I've actually already pre-ordered this, and I got a signed and personalized copy, so I'm like super excited for it to arrive. It's on the way. It should be here in a few days, I think. But this is the sequel to Spin the Dawn, which I read last year, and it made my top fantasy books of 2019. And that book was essentially pitched as like Mulan meets Project Runway, and that was pretty accurate for the most part. Like that's a lot of that particular, like the Project Runway part is more in like the first half of the book, and then it kind of really expands in the second half, and there's like traveling around, and it was just really great. So I'm excited to see what happens here, because the first book kind of left off in a place where it's like, oh my god, I need to know. Basically, our main character has returned from this journey, and she returns to a kingdom on the brink of war. So she is forced to don the dress of the sun, which is one of the dresses that she made in the first book, and assume the place of the emperor's bride-to-be to keep the peace. And when the emperor's rivals learn of her deception, there's hell to pay, but there's, you know, the war, it's like the war raging around our main character is nothing compared to the battle within. She's been changing and losing control of her magic, her body, and her mind. And it's like it's only a matter of time before she loses herself completely, and in the meantime she's going to stop at nothing to find her love interest and protect her family and bring lasting peace to her country. So I'm just super excited for this. I think it's going to be great. The next book that has come out already on July 7th is Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. So I've read A Head Full of Ghosts, I think, and enjoyed that. So this one sounds particularly exciting. It's kind of like a horror thriller book that deals with some sort of infectious disease. Massachusetts has been overrun by an insidious rabies-like virus that is spread by saliva. It has a really short incubation period. So it's like the infected quickly lose their minds and are driven to bite and infect as many others as they can before they inevitably succumb. So hospitals are kind of overrun. There's like mass hysteria going on. So Massachusetts is under quarantine and curfew, but society is breaking down. So that kind of like sounds fairly relevant to what's happening today. Our main characters is this pediatrician in her mid-30s. So she gets a phone call from a friend who is 8 months pregnant. Her husband, this friend's husband, has been killed because he was attacked by an infected neighbor. And in trying to save him, this friend was also bitten. So she's trying to get to the hospital to get a rabies vaccine to save her child and everything. So they're trying to get to the hospital, and they're making their way through this hostile landscape and all sorts of like crazy shit's going on. So that sounds awesome. That sounds something I would really enjoy. But certainly like keep in mind that this is probably, fairly relevant to what's happening today. So if that, is going to be upsetting for you, maybe wait to read this. The next book that has already come out on July 7th is The Shadows by Alex North. So this, I think, is also kind of a supernatural type thriller. You knew a teenager like Charlie Crabtree, a dark imagination, a sinister smile, always on the outside of the group. So it's some part of you suspected that he could be capable of doing something awful. And 25 years ago, he did in fact do that by committing a really awful murder. And it's attracted this strange kind of infamy and inspired more than one copycat. I think our main character, Paul, remembers this case because this guy, Crabtree, and his victim were both Paul's friends, and Paul has kind of just been trying to put his life back together. His mother is suffering from dementia, so he has to return home to take care of her, I think, and it's things basically start to go wrong. He learns that a detective is investigating another copycat that has struck in a nearby town. His mother is distressed and is insisting that there's something in the house and someone is following him. And it's it reminds him of the most unsettling thing about that awful day 25 years ago. It wasn't just the murder. It was the fact that afterward, Charlie Crabtree was never seen again. So that sounds super creepy and super awesome, and I'm excited to read it. The next book that has already come out on July 7th is Girl, Serpent Thorn by Melissa Bashardoust. So this is a YA fantasy retelling type book, I believe. We have a princess who is cursed to be poisonous to the touch. I guess her twin brother is getting married, and so she has to decide if she's willing to step outside of the shadows for the first time. Below in the dungeon is a demon who holds knowledge that she craves, which is the answer to her freedom, I guess. And it's above is a young man who isn't afraid of her, whose eyes linger not with fear, but with an understanding of who she is beneath the poison. So basically, she thinks she knows who she is, but she makes some sort of choices that lead to kind of unintended consequences. And so she kind of starts to question if she, who she is and who she's becoming, either human or demon, princess or monster. So I think this is some sort of Persian-inspired retelling, something like that. But it sounds really great, and I'm hoping that, I definitely enjoy fairy tale type retellings, so I'm excited for this one for sure. The next book that has already come out on July 7th is The Book of Dragons, which is an anthology, and I think it's edited by Jonathan Strahan. I don't know if I pronounced that right. But this is essentially just an anthology about dragons, so, really, what could go wrong here? So we've got a variety of science fiction and fantasy writers, a few notable ones like Garth Nix, R.F. Kuang, Daniel Abraham, who was one half of James S.A. Corey, who wrote The Expanse, Kate Elliott, and I just read one of her books, Theodore Goss, Shannon McGuire, and then, a variety of others. That's always just a sampling. And we've got some illustrations in here as well, which I'm sure will be fantastic. These may be dragon stories from around the world, because it mentions, from China to Europe, Africa to North America. Dragons have long captured our imagination. So, yeah, just literally the Book of Dragons. So that sounds great. The last book that has already come out on July 7th is Every Sky a Grave by J. Posey. This is said to be a thrilling space epic. So we're far in the future, and it's human beings have seated themselves among the stars. Humanity has decoded the language of the universe 8,000 years ago and have kind of expanded to the edges of the galaxy and built a near utopia across thousands of worlds, united and ruled by a powerful organization known as the Ascendants. Peaceful stability of their society relies solely on their use of this deep language of the cosmos. However, this knowledge is very valuable, and so we've got this holy order known as the First House that are supposed to monitor its use and correct humanity's further development. I think our main character, Elif, is one of these people, I guess, and is trained as a planetary assassin. And she's capable of infiltrating and ultimately destroying worlds that have been corrupted by using nothing more than her words. So that sounds really awesome. She's sent to this world in response to the appearance of a forbidden strain of the deep language that was supposedly died out over 700 years ago. And I think, what she finds on this backwater planet kind of puts her abilities to the test and challenges what she knows of the deep language, the First House, and the very nature of the universe. So that sounds just fabulous. So now we move to July 14th, and the first book I'm going to talk about here is Peace Talks by Jim Butcher, and obviously I've already pre-ordered this, and I am just I can't wait for it to arrive. I'm going to drop everything once it gets here and just read it. I am super excited for this. But obviously this is the newest entry in the Dresden Files series, and this is one of my favorite series of all time. It's an urban fantasy series about a sarcastic wizard in Chicago. I can't remember exactly what number book this is, like 15 or something. Things have been kind of going wrong, and we're obviously trying to have some peace talks to negotiate an end to the ongoing hostilities. We've got some dark political manipulations that are threatening the very existence of Chicago, and Harry just needs to make sure these talks stay civil. I'm assuming they don't, because the next book that comes out in September is Battleground. So I can't even begin to describe how excited I am for this book. But obviously I've already bought this, and I can't wait for it. The next book that I'll talk about that comes out July 14th is When Jackals Storm the Walls, and this is by Bradley P. Beaulieu. So this is the 5th book in the Song of the Shattered Sand series, which I have really enjoyed and definitely recommend if you're in the mood for an epic desert fantasy revenge quest, fabulousness. It's just really fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And the last book, things have kind of built up, I guess. We've got a blood mage who has kind of taken some power. We've got a curse that has been broken, but the freedom of this particular group comes at a great cost. We have the gods and goddesses kind of being involved, and again, I'm trying to be really vague so I don't spoil things, but some things have happened in the last book in respect to some of the goddesses. So Shada, our main character, is going on a quest, and she goes to the city of Sharakai, and others are searching for this person as well. Shada has to kind of make this really awful decision, I guess, to work with the kings or risk Sharakai's destruction. So obviously this is not going to be an easy decision. Sharakai is once more threatened by the forces of the neighboring kingdoms. Everybody's trying to take control of this, and everybody has to navigate the shifting fates before the city they love falls to the schemes of the desert gods. So yeah, this is going to be great. I've really loved this series, and I'm super excited to see what happens next. The next book that I'll talk about that comes out July 14th is The Relentless Moon by Mary Robinette Kowal. So this is the 3rd book in the Lady Astronaut series, and I read The Calculating Stars sometime this year and really enjoyed it. I have The Fated Sky, which I haven't read yet, but I definitely want to get to it and then obviously pick up The Relentless Moon. So this is kind of like an alternate history, I guess, where some sort of meteoroid falls to Earth and kind of wipes out the east coast of the US, and this kind of spurs a space race of sorts where everybody's we have to go to space and colonize it to live because the Earth will, kind of become uninhabitable. So here it's the Earth is coming to the boiling point as the climate disaster of the meteor strike becomes more and more clear, but we've got a lot of politics going on. There's riots and sabotage that are plaguing the space program. Basically, this International Aerospace Coalition, I think is what it stands for, is what the IAC stands for. They're trying to just get people off of Earth before it becomes uninhabitable. We're establishing some sort of moon colony, I believe, and it's just going to be some more politics and general space stuff. So this is I really loved the first book, and I definitely want to continue this series and see what happens next. The next book that comes out July 14th is Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters. So this is, I believe, a YA fantasy, and it looks kind of creepy, actually. So that's great. Basically, it's saying there's the boundary between reality and nightmares is as thin as the veil between the living and the dead. So that's a great pitch already. So then we have this quote: "If I could have a fiddle made of daddy's bones, I'd play it. I'd learn all the secrets he kept." So our main character has inherited her father's ability to call ghosts from the grave with his fiddle, but she knows that this fiddle's music brings nothing but trouble and darkness. However, her brother is accused of murder, so she is going to have to clear his name by making the ghosts sing. So that's basically all the synopsis says, but that sounds really cool. Alright, so now we move to July 21st, and the first book I'll talk about here is I Come With Knives by S.A. Hunt. So I read Burn the Dark earlier this year, I think, and really loved it, so I'm super excited for this second book in the series. This was kind of the first book was kind of our main character is a YouTuber who hunts witches, and it's obviously everybody watching the videos thinks that these this is all staged and everything, but it turns out that the witches are actually real, and our main character is hunting them down to kill them because a group of witches had killed her mother a while ago. And then we had this Red Lord, I believe, who's this super menacing figure, I guess, that has kind of haunted our main character for a while. So now we have like a really great group of characters coming together to kind of like fight these evil things. So now our main character, again with the support group, plans to confront this group of witches to destroy them once and for all. Meanwhile, a dangerous serial killer, only known as the Serpent, is abducting and killing Blackfield residents. So then we have an elusive order of magicians known as the Dogs of Odysseus show up, I think, trying to hunt down possibly our main character. So she has to handle these new threats, as well as obviously this main group of witches, and then we've got a secret from her past that may throw all of our plans into jeopardy. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to be picking this up. I loved the first book, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And I think there's certainly a third book planned in the series. I don't know how long the series is supposed to be, but it doesn't matter because I will keep reading them. So yeah, I'm definitely super excited for this. The first book, there was certainly some really creepy moments. Particularly, there's one in like the public bathroom that I was just like, oh my god. So I'm very excited for this, obviously. The next book that comes out July 21st is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. So this, I think, is kind of a historical dark fantasy book, I guess. So this is some sort of puritanical society, and our main character is discovering dark powers within herself. So that sounds already awesome. So I guess our main character's existence is blasphemy because her mother's union with an outsider of a different race cast her once proud family into disgrace. So our main character is like trying to do all she can to worship the father, follow holy protocol, and lead a life of submission, devotion, and absolute conformity like all the other women in the settlement. However, she is lured into the forbidden dark woods surrounding this land, I guess, where the first prophet once chased and killed 4 powerful witches. Their spirits are still lurking there, and they give our main character a gift, which is the journal of her dead mother. Our main character learns that her mother once sought sanctuary in the wood. So she's uncovering the secrets in this diary and is trying to understand like how her mother consorted with these witches. Then she starts to learn grim truths about the church and its history, and realizes the true threat to this land is its own darkness. Basically, if she kind of realizes that if this place is to change, it has to begin with her. So that sounds really cool. The next book that comes out July 21st that I'll talk about is The Sin and the Steel by Ryan Van Loan. So this is an adult fantasy, and it's a debut. So we've got dead gods, a pirate queen, shape-shifting mages, and a Sherlockian teenager determined to upend her society. We've got a couple of characters. One is a brilliant street rat, who's this teenager, I'm assuming. And so then we have another character who's this ex-soldier and our teenager's partner in crime. And it's like, no, not in crime solving. So they've been hired for their biggest job that will like set them up for, a life of ease if they survive. They're the first private detectives in a world where pirates roam the seas, mages speak to each other across oceans, mechanical devices change the tide of battle, and earthly wealth is concentrated in the hands of the powerful few. It's been weeks since ships have returned to this wonderful city with some bounty, I think, so disaster is threatening the trading companies of the city and as well as the empire. So our main characters are supposed to investigate this, and they determine that the trade routes have become the domain of a sharp-eyed pirate queen who sinks all who defy her. That sounds so cool. So they're trying to sink the Widowmaker's ship. But then it's like, unfortunately for, this teenager, the gods have other plans. Unfortunately for the gods, so does she. So that just sounds super cool. That sounds like a whole bunch of things that I really enjoy. So I'm very excited to see how this goes. The next book that comes out July 21st is Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler. So this is, I think, the start to a new epic fantasy trilogy, it looks like. In this world, some sort of magical war has destroyed this empire, and a new one was built in its ashes, but we still have some old grudges. And 2 siblings have to fight on opposite sides to save their worlds. I think the brother hasn't seen his sister since their parents sold her to the mysterious Twilight Order. So 12 years after her disappearance, this brother is trying to find revenge, and is like he's willing to risk anything and anyone to claim enough power to destroy the order. So he is chasing rumors of a fabled city protecting a powerful artifact, and so he ends up coming face to face with his lost sister. However, obviously she has changed in this time period, so she's been trained as a warrior, and she wields magic for the Twilight Order's cause. So they're on opposite sides of the civil war, and they will learn that not even the ties of blood will keep them from splitting the world in two. So that sounds honestly really awesome, and I've read a couple of books by Django Wexler before, and I've enjoyed them, so I'm definitely excited to give this one a shot. The next book I'll talk about that comes out July 21st is Alpha Omega by Nicholas Bowling. So I think I heard about this from Kasha and Bookland, but it seems like I think it's a YA sci-fi book, Could be wrong about the YA. It's like something is rotten in the state of NutraStart Skills Academy. So I guess there's some sort of discovery of a human skull, and children start to display symptoms of an unfamiliar virus, and there's basically like a catastrophic malfunction in the site security system. The school descends into chaos, and our teacher goes looking for answers, and it's like when the real, the unreal, and the surreal are indistinguishable, the truth can be difficult to recognize. So one people, I guess, may save maybe the key to saving the school from destroying itself as well as the other students, but he's already been expelled and has disappeared down the rabbit hole of this Alpha Omega, which is a VR role-playing game filled with violent delights and unbridled debauchery. But the game quickly sours, so this student, I guess, will need to confront the real world he's been so desperate to escape if he ever wants to leave. So that sounds just like super cool. It's a standalone book as well, so that is really awesome. The next book that comes out July 21st is He Started It by Samantha Downing. So this is going to be a thriller, and I read My Lovely Wife by her and really enjoyed it, so I'm very excited to see how this one goes. But basically, you have a group of siblings, I guess, who haven't seen each other in years. Their wealthy grandfather dies and leaves a cryptic final message in his wake. So the siblings and their respective partners come together for a cross-country road trip to fulfill his final wish and secure their inheritance. But time with your family can be tough. It is for everyone. It's even harder when you're all keeping secrets and trying to forget a memory, a missing person, an act of revenge, the man in the black truck who won't stop following your car, and especially when at least one of you is a killer and there's a body in the trunk, just to name a few reasons. But money is a powerful motivator. It is for everyone. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed My Lovely Wife, so I'm super excited to see what Samantha Downing has for us next. Now we move to July 28th, and the first book I'll talk about here is Demon in White by Christopher Ruocchio. So this is the third book in the Sun Eater series. I've already pre-ordered this, and I can't wait. This is the series that starts with Empire of Silence, and so Empire of Silence and Howling Dark both made my best sci-fi of last year, and I'm just like super excited to see where this goes next. Like, Howling Dark had some moments where I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe what just happened. So basically, Empire of Silence starts off kind of more, I guess, like Kingkiller Chronicles, where we have a main character kind of recounting his life somewhat. Our main character is revered as a hero and despised as a murderer, so he's like chronicling his tale in this Sun Eater series, and obviously, like, basically, the galaxy remembers him as a hero. He burned every last one of the alien race from the sky. They remember him as a monster, the devil who destroyed a sun, casually annihilating 4 billion human lives, even the Emperor himself, against Imperial orders. So, like, we're kind of learning more about his life, and the first book is more concentrated on a particular planet, and, like, it's, his younger years, and there's a lot of gladiator stuff, which, of course, I really love. And then in book 2, we kind of expand past this, like, kind of more localized setting. So, that was great. So, Demon in White, obviously we're going to continue his story, and there's rumors of a new king amongst this alien race. This one is not like the others. It does not raid border world territories and prefers precise strategic attacks on the humans' empire. So then we have some sort of cult forming around our main character. His rise to prominence proves dangerous. It's basically like the imperial government kind of trusts and resents his new influence. So he's our main character kind of like stuck between all of this and has to deal with enemies before him and behind. And then there's this mystery of the Quiet. The keys to the only place in the universe where he might find the answers he seeks lies in the hands of the Emperor himself. So, I mean, like, yeah, I've already pre-ordered this. I can't wait for this. I'm anticipating that this is going to be a 5-star read for me. If you're looking for a really great adult sci-fi series, definitely check this out. The next book that comes out July 28th that I'll talk about is Deal with the Devil by Kit Rocha, pitched as Orphan Black meets the post-apocalyptic Avengers, and this is kind of Mercenary Librarians, I believe, is the series name. So one of our characters is an information broker with a mission, so she and her team of mercenary librarians will use their knowledge to save the hopeless in a crumbling America. And then we have another character who's the captain of the Silver Devils, and his squad of super soldiers went AWOL to avoid slaughtering innocents, and so he's trying to just fight to survive. And I guess these characters are going to be on a deadly collision course, and there's a passion that flares between them that only makes it more dangerous. They could burn down the world, destroying each other in the plot process, or they could do the impossible by teaming up. So it says it's a near-future sci-fi series with elements of romance. That sounds great. I mean, like, really, literally just mercenary librarians. Like, that sounds fabulous enough already, and, just the synopsis here, just, oh my god. I'm super excited for this, and I really hope it's great. The last book I'll talk about that comes out July 28th is Afterland by Lauren Beukes. So this is pitched as Children of Men meets The Handmaid's Tale in this thriller where we have some sort of a plague element. So most of the men are dead. This is 3 years after the pandemic known as the manfall. So governments are still holding and life is continuing. It's like, but a world run by women isn't always a better place. So we have a 12-year-old boy who's one of the last boys alive, and his mother who's doing anything to protect him. So they're on the run after some sort of act of violence, and they're being chased by his mother's sister, and she's just like, this mother is obviously just like wanting to find a safe place to raise her child, so he won't be preyed upon as like a reproductive resource or sex object or a stand-in son. They're journeying across a changed America in disguise as mother and daughter. So they're going from a military base in Seattle to a luxury bunker, from an anarchist commune in Salt Lake City to a roaming cult that's all too ready to see this boy as the answer to their prayers. They're trying to stay ahead at every step, even as this sister and her crew draw closer. So it's like a sharply feminist, high-stakes thriller. So it blends psychological suspense, American noir, and sci-fi into an adventure of its own. So, I mean, that sounds like super cool. I've never read anything from this author before, but, you know, that just really sounds appealing. So I'm excited to see how this goes. So with that, those are the 20 books I have to talk to you about today. Obviously, lots of great releases coming out this month. Like, I don't know what it is about this summer, but there's a whole bunch of really great releases that I want to get to. So I'm excited for that. Let me know in the comments if you think you're going to pick up any of these books. And for your question of the day, just let me know if there are other books coming out in July that you are particularly excited about that I didn't mention here. So with that, I hope you're having an excellent day and are reading something awesome. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, as that would certainly help me out. But with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up here and see you in the next one.